So apparently a lot of blacks still don't get it. And a lot of people in the alt-right apparently still don't get it as well. And that the SJW left, despite how benevolent they may sell themselves as, and despite how nice and friendly and tolerant they may sell themselves as, these are the kind of people who are, in my opinion, the most prejudiced, the most dangerous, and yes, the most racist group of people. Now, there are some people who are genuinely liberal in the sense that they are open-minded and they're open to whatever. And when I say when they're open-minded, a lot of these SJW liberals, they're open-minded to an extent. Open-minded to what they're told to be open-minded to, which in this day and age are gays, lesbians, transgenders, single mothers, whoever. But one group of people who they have not been told to be open-minded to, nor have they ever been told to be open-minded to, has been you, black male. Yes, or us, I should say. We have never been really on the list of protected people or people to go out and defend, particularly if you're a straight edge, non-stereotypical black man. Now, you will have liberals who will defend the worst kind of blacks when it calls, or when time calls for it, but I'll explain that reason later. But as far as the SJW left is concerned, to all black dudes who are watching, watch out for the SJW left. Why do I say this? Well, unlike how the alternative right rants and raves about white power, white national pride, all that kind of stuff, even though most of them are married to Asian women, a lot of them, one, are consistent, two, are more overt, and three, they just don't know strategy. I mean, the strategy that they're taking is from the same strategy that the Dixiecrats used historically, which may have worked when the world wasn't hooked up to televisions and the internet and all sorts of other stuff in which the rest of the world could see your bullshit or their bullshit and could basically threaten sanctions on them and call the UN and all that kind of stuff. So there's that. But how the SJW left, and when I say they're more hateful and racist, I don't mean that they're more hateful or bigoted towards people in the right opinion. I'm not talking about the assholes who are beating up the whoever. I'm not talking about the Antifas beating up the alt-righters or Trumpettes. No, I'm not talking about that. That's a disingenuous argument. I'm talking about actual prejudice towards black men. Yes. Let me give you some examples. Well, in the cities that have the highest unemployment of blacks, which party runs them? In cities where black crime is notoriously high, which party runs it? Or which party runs them? In cities where they have the highest amount of black poverty in general, and single motherhood, which party runs them? Ooh, here's a good question. With the exception of a few cities that are basically Canadianized, like your Seattles, your Portlands, and your, you can throw Denver in there, Denver's and your Minneapolis, most of these cities that are Democratic, well, I already said it, most of these cities that have a low amount of interracial pairings between black men and non-black women, which cities are which party are they run by? Obviously, I already said it, Democrats. But look at some of these cities, for instance. Like you have your New York Cities, particularly your Manhattans, your San Franciscos, your to a certain extent your Seattles and Portlands, especially certain hipster neighborhoods, as well as your Brooklyns and Washington D.C.s due to gentrification. Which group has the smallest presence, or is bound to have the smallest presence in the areas I've mentioned? It's you, particularly black men. I mean, let's face facts. A lot of these liberals are pretty damn slick, and they're pretty damn good, to be honest. But the agenda is not to look righteous. The agenda is not to look holier than thou or to prove that black people aren't all that bad. No, they are doing their SJW tactics and antics for one reason. It's to prove that black men are worthless, are savages. I said it in my how the SJW left and the alternative right work together. And in this case, I'm detailing how the SJW left specifically works to demonize, discredit, demonize, and destroy the image of blacks. In this case, black men. Because, quite frankly, one of the other things that they do, the SJW left, they basically have recruited your women, black women, which was one of the reasons why I say black women do not belong to black men, because black women have made their choice. They chose feminism over their own men. But a lot of the SJW left is in support of policies that, one, keep you all enslaved essentially to poverty, and two, that keep you all just wallowing at the bottom, and that is the welfare state, or as Obsidian likes to call it, the welfare mind state. And quite frankly, if this group really cared, if liberals really cared about the betterment of the black race, why would they choose policies that have been proven time and time again to not only hinder the black race, but to push it back? Also, a lot of these SJW liberals, and when they move to these big cities and the process of gentrification, specifically the more disingenuous SJW liberals will tend to move to predominantly black neighborhoods for one reason or another, because they say it's because they can't afford it, which is bullshit. A lot of these SJW lefties tend to come from affluent neighborhoods, and they can easily afford to live in the uptown or ritzy parts where their dude bro brethren lives. And notice that the dude bro brethren, which a lot of your, I wouldn't say alt-right, but I'm assuming there are a couple of guys who can be considered alt-right, but your mainstream conservatives, your pop collar dude bro who works in the top 4 or corporate 100 firm, they don't even deal with black neighborhoods. They will pay upwards of $3,000 to stay away from blacks. Simple as that. But a lot of these SJW lefties will work, or not work, will live in these damn near dilapidated neighborhoods in order to prove one thing: that the black man is a savage. Oh, and why do I say this? It's simple. Yeah, a lot of blacks will not mess with these white gentrifiers, but these white gentrifiers will in many cases put themselves in a particular scenario, or in a particular, I'll say it, they put themselves in particular scenarios to have themselves robbed, raped, or killed. And it's my belief that a lot of these liberals see it as a sacrifice. Not a sacrifice for social justice nor for getting people woke, but to prove the world that blacks are savages. And quite frankly, why do I say all of this? Well, it's simple. Do these SJW lefties tend to befriend, and much less date, on-point black men? I'm not talking about the Iances in Seattle or Minneapolis or Denver. Those are exceptions to the rule. I'm talking about your New Yorks, your San Franciscos, your Los Angeles, your DCs, your Philadelphias, Bostons. The list goes on. A lot of these major liberal cities, or these obsessively liberal cities, tend to have some of the lowest interracial pairs between black men and non-black women, despite the population being full of millennials and, oh my god, we're so progressive young people. I mean, the neighborhoods they live in, when it gets down to it, it's like 90% white, 10% anything but black. And it's for a reason. It's not the price, it's not the income, no. Trust me, they don't want to deal with blacks. And quite frankly, I mean, the dude bros would, you'll find dude bros who would deal with a black person who's whitewashed or whatever. You'll find dude bros who are more down for a whitewashed black dude dating a white chick, all right? Or especially a chick outside, or like another minority chick who's whitewashed as well, but we all know how the other non-black minority, or just any minority whitewashed chick, tend to want white guy, and that's a whole other story. Anyway, but it's simple. Watch out for the SJW left who claims to like you and want to do best and see best for blacks, because in reality, they don't. And as time goes on, this is one of the reasons why I said that Hillary Clinton losing was basically akin to black men dodging a bullet. But watch as time goes on that a lot of these SJW lefties will eventually show their colors for who they really are, which at best is no different than the alt-right. And at worst are this generation's fascists, which from what I've heard right now, I've heard there are Antifa groups. If you don't know what Antifa is, basically they're just anti-fascists, which basically these are people who claim they're anti-fascists by doing fascist stuff. But there are Antifa groups that have been reported to have put posters on and threatening to beat up people who are in interracial relationships. So that's fun to see. Go look that one up. But for all you black men out there who think the liberals are your friends and are your allies, and especially the hipsters, no, they're the worst. They're the worst of the SJW left. And don't have money, which goes back to my last point. Non-stereotypical black men are not liked by liberals. These men essentially break everything and all the rules that they've been taught and that they want to believe about black men. Now, you'll be better off finding not even an alt-right, but a skinhead who would be like, oh wait, he speaks good English, he has an IQ above 100, he has a job. Oh well, let's just leave that black alone. Let's not even fuck with him. Let's just move on. You'll have a better time finding a skinhead who would be like that than your SJW liberal. Because if there's anything that an SJW left liberal hipster fears more than a group of niggas on the block, it's an individual black man in a suit. And for everyone else out there, always bet on X.